Good day to you and welcome on monetization, and today it's time to introduce you to Paladins. So, what is Paladins? Paladins is a hero shooter that you probably guessed if you're here, and it's in a way similar to, let's say, Team Fortress or Overwatch. In ways it's different. In which ways it's different I'll show you in a minute, but right now let's focus on this. So, as always, there is this, let's say, feed which tells you what's new overall. The current patch is, I think, 30, even though I've seen 31. So yet 31 seems to be a patch which is just and only what's the word for that? Optimizing and not really bringing any new content. I'll show you the settings right now. You can play with the controller, which I would probably not recommend if you're on a PC, so yeah. Controls, so you can go through all key bindings. There is some gameplay settings which you might want to use, might not. Audio, as always, and video, which is the most important one. I have, which is really nice, you can go with FOV down to 80 and actually up to 120. I'm gonna stay at 100 because I like it, and it's quite okay. As you can see, a lot of stuff is maxed. Resolution is right now 1280 to 720 just because of the recording. However, usually I'm playing on full screen, full HD, and it works perfectly fine on my PC. You can look at my performance video here, and well, no. And let's show you the rest. So, before we go into play modes, I'm gonna show you, let's start with the play modes. So there's a few different things right here. You have 5 tiles. One of them sets your region. There are currently 3 in the beta. One of them shows you the daily quests, which are always the same. It's first win, second win, and third win of the day, which can altogether give you 450 gold. Combined with login rewards, you can actually get up to 900 a day, I think, or 800 a day, which is 900, which is pretty good considering that heroes usually cost around 9,000, around 5,000. This means that you can very often unlock a hero within a week. I have, for example, as you also get gold from leveling up your heroes and leveling up your whole as you can see, I'm level 7 right now. Stats are not here yet, but you can see the progress slightly in here. And in terms of champions, I have Ruckus level 5, I have more, but we'll get to it. So the play modes. There are other options. You can make a custom game if you want to play just with your friends against bots. That's always possible. You can train. You have shooting range, payload, or siege. Siege means that you have this one point which you have to take, and after that there is a series of points that your team is supposed to take afterwards. If I think that your goal is to get 9 points, you get 2 points for getting the first point, for getting the very first checkpoint, and for each other one you get 1 point. If you manage to defend successfully, you get at least 1 point. However, very often it's a lot less than you would get if you were actually to get the first checkpoint. Payload, which is a mode that I like the most in here, is you have a payload of cash and you just have to get it through a map to the other side. You have 2 checkpoints and 1 final checkpoint, and every single time you have a limited amount of time to get it through your opponents. Now, I have only one problem with this, or maybe 2. First of all, I think this mode is kind of easier for people who are defending. Actually, I have lost only like 2 games out of 15 while actually defending, which was ridiculous. But 2 out of 10. But when I'm attacking, it's actually 50-50 because you need more of a team cooperation. at that moment right away, and a lot of people just go and hunt and forget about the objective completely. Now, there is another thing which happens in the payload mode, and that's overtime. I just haven't been able to analyze why overtime happens and how long it is, for what reasons. However, I'll take a look at it before the next video, before I explain the payload itself with some extra stuff. Now, of course, there's matchmaking, there is siege, there is payload, and sometimes there is another mode. There is like a rotation for those. So for example, last week, as they introduced a new champion, who was, if I recall correctly, Victor, there was 5-on-5 Victor, which was pretty good. It was Counter-Strike like, but it was pretty good. So, before we focus on champions, let's get into the store and talk about the monetization system, because this one is very fair, I have to say, very, very fair. So you can buy a founder's pack, which contains exclusive skin, mount, and unlocks all heroes. Pretty good overall. All champions, all inclusive, and that's for $20. So if you want to unlock the whole game, this is very similar to another Hi-Rez game, Smite, where I think you can unlock all the gods for $23. So if you want to unlock this one, 20 bucks, that's it, and you are in a, I think, having a pretty good deal. Also, if you want to buy crystals, as you can see, they are rather cheap compared to the competition that the game actually has. Generally 15 bucks for 800 crystals. That's like 2 skins or a lot of chests, or change name, which is pretty good. As you can see, this is like the newest one has cost of 600, which is manageable. And there are these chests. Now, what do you get from the chests? That's one of the underlying systems in the game, and I'll show you and open the chest in here. Unlock Hound. I really don't know what just happened. So, what is it? Is it a skin? This is the first time it happened. So we have this. We have a Fracture, which is a card for, I can't recall her name, but she's a shifting one, and a Tidal Grace for a guy who I can't really recognize him at all. Now these cards, who was that? Don't really know. So these guys, as you can see, have their skills and their loadouts. Now these loadouts are actually made of cards, and you have up to 5 cards. You can level them 12 times, which means to a maximum of 4, and this means that you have to decide which one you will actually max out. So if I want to get like this, there's 12, and that's actually it. Pretty good. They use this like Hearthstone like differentiation between those, but it gives you a lot of variation, that you not only have to choose a proper card for you. For example, in here, as you can see, I have only a few unlocked, but there are 2, 4, 6, there's 9 of them, sorry, 11 of them. And some heroes actually have like 13, 15 of them. So there's more variation to it. If you want to go, for example, Rufus is one of the guys who has a role of fighter, which means that he can take some punishment but also gives a lot of damage. And you can actually decide whether you want to follow this generally well-rounded stat line, or if you want to focus more on tanking and survivability, or more on being a glass cannon. These options are here. It all depends just on which cards you use and how many points you give to each other. As I said right away, there are different archetypes. So we have, right away, we have protectors, which are the obvious tanks. They can take a lot of punishment, really high amounts, but they also have shields. And that's something that other archetypes have in some cases, but generally these shields are personal. The shields which protectors give are for everyone. So for example, Fernando has a shield right in front of him. He can't attack meanwhile, but this shield can take up to 4000 damage. So if you are trying to push and the enemies are, and you're in a narrow spot or narrow corridor, which happens sometimes, your team can actually for 4 seconds shoot everyone in front of you, and they can't really get to the whole team, even if they are you. And if you time it properly, you can actually counter like a Ruckus, who has this insane ability in terms of narrow spaces, where he uses his miniguns and also uses rocket launchers, which deal AoE damage, and that's pretty strong in narrow corridors. As I one time managed to kill the whole team with that solo. That's ridiculous. Fernando can stop it from happening. Barik is, let's say, a bit less offensive version of Fernando, as he can also charge and continue, but Barik has this dome of shielding where you can get inside and actually make, if you're in a good position and you have to defend, this is the hero you want. Now, the next ones, we have blasters. Blasters, there are currently 3 in the game, have AoE attacks. Well, let's say most of them and their attacks are AoE. They are a bit hard to aim with very often because they're slightly more powerful, because if you hit one, it's just, you can actually get a lot of damage from that. But they are good, once again, tight spaces, and actually even a bit of a sharp shooting. For example, Drogoz is actually pretty good in picking up people if there are single targets. So that's it. The next ones are sharpshooters. Sharpshooters focus obviously on long range attacks. There are currently 4 in the game. Victor, I think, being one of the strongest ones because of his ultimate ability, which is ridiculously strong if timed and used properly, though it has a very low cooldown. Then we have Cassie, Kinessa, and Ying. Now Ying is a weird one. She is like a shifter, so she can actually jump now and there, and it's very weird and very confusing for your opponent, sometimes even for yourself. However, she is a glass cannon, so she can take usually like 5-6 hits and then she dies. The same goes for Kinessa and Cassie. Victor is more or less bulkier one of those, the bulkiest sharpshooter that I have seen. And well, if you want to get into this game and want to have a generally very good hero, I would recommend Victor. The last type that we have are strikers. Strikers are short range or melee characters. Or melee in this game is not really a thing. Every single hero is either a short range or shorter range or long ranges. So these guys are actually very short range, and they're very powerful in the short range. I have played Buck the last game, and actually this Androxus striker was able to get me down in 4 hits, which is just about 700 HP per hit, and I was healing, so maybe around 800-900 per hit. Very strong, almost ridiculous amount, but if you are mobile and they are not really good shooters, they can die very easily. They always have this way to get in or out of the fight, and if you are an aggressive and mobile player who can actually get around very quickly and who has a good aim, I would highly recommend these strikers. If you want to be more secure and you have a solid aim, I would recommend sharpshooters. If you don't have a really good aim, as I do not have, that's why I'm playing Ruckus, because actually hitting with Ruckus is the easiest job in the world right now. And I forgot, there is actually, I think, 1 or 2 melee characters, and those are Gruer and Makoa, as these two have access. So they have some long range abilities, but they're primarily melee. And that's most likely it. You have seen the loadouts, you have seen the skills, some of them. Of course there are skins and weapon skins, more coming usually. Currently these skins are more or less just colors. If I'm gonna show you the Grover, you can see that the difference is actually just the color of the texture right now. However, don't forget that this is beta, and there is more stuff coming, more skins, and from what I remember from Smite, they had very good skins for their gods. Yeah, this tribesman is an example of that. Here we have just a recolorization, so we have this troll or orc-like, and then we have this, which is completely different. Fernando, does he offer anything? Yep, Fernando, God of War, legendary. That's quite a difference from these recolored themes. I wonder if Victor or anyone else has legendary, but sometimes really just a recolor right now. And then there is this. So I hope that this helps you a bit. In next video I will focus on game type of 1 hero, and I'll introduce continuously 1 and more heroes on, and we'll continue with that. It seems like new hero will come up every 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. It's still beta, but it functions extremely well, and they just need some time to get more people balance stuff. For example, last time last time I played this, they had a different UI, in-game UI, or I should say draft UI slightly, and they are changing these things a bit constantly. So it's not like they are really not doing anything. They have a well-optimized game. They will be adding more heroes, more maps, more modes, more content in general. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like it down below. It gets me higher traffic. Also share it to your friends, as well as the game Paladins, so that we get more people to play against. And well, once again, thanks for watching, and see you next time.